Kill the fun there.
We're at the MAKARA Peak shelter. We're going to do a Yeah Gnar trail breakdown. It's been requested by a couple of people. So, yeah. Because I remember... Actually, I probably should say it.
Hello, this is the
No, wait.
Squad. Hello, fun. Ah! I've screwed up my words.
No swearing.
Okay.
We're at MAKARA Peak.
We are at MAKARA Peak. We're in this little hut that we found. Think about that.
We're in the MAKARA Peak wind shelter. It is...
It's not a wind shelter.
Oh, and we're going to do a trail breakdown of Yeah Gnar. So...
I found a cool rock.
Alright, hello people, it's a lovely day at MAKARA Peak. We're going to take you down a trail breakdown of Yeah Gnar. It's been requested by a couple of people. I'll be riding with Rim. He's a bit of a master, as we all know. Thomas.
Hello, fellas.
The yappity yapper.
Yappity yappity yap.
And yeah, so we'll show you every feature.
We're gonna do like the features on the trail.
Do a little bit of a talk through. Look at some lines and hopefully help you conquer Wellingtons Hardest Trail.
I don't think we're going to make it though.
Well, we'll try our best because, yeah, it is Wellington's Hardest Trail. So we'll do our very best, but stay tuned if you want to see us possibly crash, possibly die, or possibly teach you something. All right.
I don't think anyone's learning from you, Ruben.
Okay.
If you want advice,
Thomas Wilson's your man.
All right. We'll see you at the trail.
All right. So at the top, and first hill, you get a little bit of a 30-second warm up. Going down north face. Enough time to warm up, get in the zone before you get into the Gnar. So, a couple of years ago, when I was thinking about attempting Yeah Gnar for the first time, I had heard a lot of different things, different rumours about the trail. Some people told me I would be able to manage it just fine, others told me it wouldn't be a good idea for me to attempt it. As it is infamous for being Wellington's hardest trail, I think it casts a shadow on a lot of people who would be quite capable of riding it. If you can ride Trickle Falls without too much trouble, then you could definitely consider attempting Yeah Gnar. A couple of years ago, a Wellington YouTuber named Trail Atlas released a few videos where he broke down the lines and features on a couple of different tracks around the MAKARA Peak area, such as Vertigo, Trickle Falls, and K-Hole. Looking back at the comments in these videos now, I think a lot of people found them to be really helpful in giving them that extra little nudge they needed to go and attempt some of these harder trails on the hill. A lot of people requested a trail breakdown on Yeah Gnar, but Trail Atlas, I think his name is Ben, ended up going to Canada and not making the video. So even though Trail Atlas is a much more experienced video maker than me, I thought I would go out with a few of my mates and see if I could make a little video that might help you out. Alright, on with the video. So it's a pretty wide section. Got a couple of different lines you can choose from. First line, kind of, I'd say probably the easiest line of the two main ones, is kind of coming along here and just creeping down this rock garden like this, and then go nice and wide into that little corner. You got to speak up a little bit.
There's a big hole!
Big hole.
Right there.
Right. Go, Rim. Right, now Thomas is going to show us how to do the harder line. Done that first feature on Trickle Falls, and now we turn off to the right to go into Yeah Gnar. So this first little section's not too bad. It's just kind of, there's only one line, so we won't bother breaking it down, but you just kind of go through, and this is the first feature after that first corner. So yeah, as you can see, you come around, there's a little roll down into a little bit of a chute, and then a second little roll down into a corner. Yeah.
I don't even know what this is.
It's basically just like a little double rollable drop. Nothing too hard. Right, after that, you have another little straight section until you come to this.
Show them the sign.
Alright, once you get to this point, you're faced with an option. If you found that section too hard, you can opt to take this extremely overgrown little line that cuts you back into Trickle Falls, Or you can continue on with the Gnar and face the rest of your Gnar. So we're gonna just we just filmed, we're basically just gonna film the kind of quite hard features, just because otherwise this video is gonna be quite long. Just there, that was a little drop. It's not too bad to roll over. If you can ride Trickle Falls, you'll be able to ride all of these features that I'm not gonna film on. Alright, so here we have the first kind of sizable drop on the trail. It does have a roll around, but you kind of come into it quite quickly, so you've got to remember it's there, because if you're going into it quite fast, you might just go straight over it, you know? But it's got a pretty straightforward landing, nothing to worry about really, and the running's pretty good as well. Enough time to get a little bit of a pop. But if you're not up for that, there is a nice easy roll around. Thomas is going to show us how it's done. He made that look nice and easy. All right, next, come around the corner, little 180-degree corner, into the triple X drop, which is one of the first harder features on the trail. It's a similar size drop, but it has quite a rough landing. I'm gonna get Rim to show us how to do that. All right, so this is the triple X drop. You've got a similar size drop to the last one, but the thing is, it's got quite a rocky, rough landing into a quite tight corner, which you have a fair bit of speed into. The corner's definitely enough to support you, but if you found that last drop hard, you might want to consider rolling around this one. Most of the roll rounds are pretty straightforward, nothing really harder than grade 5, apart from on a couple of the features, which I will make sure to stop and show you.
But I think the roll around is what,
Yeah, the thing about the roll around is if you're comfortable on tech, it's not too bad, but it's just got a really abrupt corner at the end, like quite a tight corner to make. So this, honestly, if you're comfortable with drops, doing the main line is probably a little bit easier. Brim's gonna demo the triple X drop. Didn't go too fast over it, just enough to clear that kind of janky rock sticking up, and then nice and slow so that you could control the speed into the corner. Alright, so if you nailed that, I'd say that's probably one of the harder features on the trails, probably one of the top 4 hardest features. So if you nail that, you're off to a good start for conquering the rest of your Gnar. I'm going to follow Thomas down this next section. Go for it.
Alright, ready?
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure there's not another feature for a little while. You can kind of just enjoy the pretty flowy single track. Like, even though it is a grade 6 trail, it does flow pretty well. Oh yeah, got a bit of a corner. This one does get quite slippery when it's wet, so just be mindful of that. Bro, Thomas is off. He's dropping us now. Big jump that's really hard to clear, but if you know, might take you a couple goes to do it, and it does have a quite steep lip, so you got to be mindful when coming off that to try and get your weight backwards so you don't get bucked.
You can either go to the right side, or you can come up here and do a little drop.
I think rolling is probably the best bet, but it does have a freshly trimmed ride around. So yeah, I'll go into the bottom so you can have a better look. So the thing about this feature is that it's not straight. You have to kind of make it a little bit of a turn. So you start with Thomas's and you kind of follow the rut down to the bottom. You can go straight off, but that's quite scary, to be honest. I'd say this is one of the most intimidating features on the trail. One thing to be mindful of when riding this is that the commitment point is, you have to, the second your front wheel goes over this rock, you can't go back. You have to be fully committed if you're going to roll into it, because at that point you're going to have a bit of a crash if you try to bail once you've gone over this rock. It's too steep. Nice and slow, committed and easy. Right, rolling into it and little. Perfect. So we've got, oh, there's another drop here. similar to that first one we looked at, just maybe 3 foot high into a relatively good landing. I dropped the foot there on accident, but that corner is quite steep, but also relatively forgiving. Coming up nice and high. All right, Ren, we'll stop and look at that. So the main problem with this corner we just rode is that it stays pretty slippery most of the time. It's got a nice rut though, which is handy because it kind of just guides your wheel down, but you want to be definitely running good tires for this section. You can come up high, as you can see, through the rocks, up here where I'm standing, and it kind of puts you up better for the corner. But you've got to be quite careful because, like I say, this bit's really slippery, so off the brakes as much as possible. You could probably even try and get up high on the kind of grass up here, and that might even be better, but that way you can't really see any rocks or anything that might be slippery. There's a beeline that Thomas is pushing up. You kind of just go nice and slow, and you can kind of go between those 2 rocks there. It's a little bit tighter, but it's not as slippery because it's not as ridden. Coming in, carrying a good bit of entrance speed. Marvelous. So now we continue along, relatively easy, into some big chunky rocks, relatively mellow, but then it spits you out into this really awkward double rock drop corner. This is the first feature, apart from like the very start of falls, that doesn't have a ride around. So prepare to be hopping off your bike and walking if you're not feeling up to it. Rims coming in. Made it look smooth as normal. Yeah, it does have a relatively grippy landing though, so you can kind of grab quite a lot of brake as you land, as long as you make sure not to lock up over this next little kind of roll down thing here. Yeah. Right, I'm starting from right here, but if you're doing it, you want to probably have a bit more of a run up than this. Yeah, you want to be nice and slow on the brakes, and then you're going to have to do a little bit of a lift here, just so that you don't snag your chainring on the wood. All right, let's go see Thomas do it. Yeah, so as long as you're braking well into it, not going too fast, it is a relatively straightforward feature. Oh, Thomas did roll it. Never seen anyone do that before. Right, so right after that, you probably have a 20 meters straight into one of the tightest corners on the trail.
Oh.
This is a really good warm up for the last corner, as it's quite similar to this in lots of ways, but this is a little bit less of a kind of shoot into it. Rim's gonna talk us through it.
This is the corner. It's pretty freaking cool. You'll probably want to come like straight over this rock in the rut, and then I would probably just take my foot off here so that if my front wheel slides, I can just like put it back on. You know?
So yeah, the thing is, once you come around this corner, the berm isn't
non-existent.
Exactly. There's not really a berm, so you kind of have to be really controlling your brakes as much as possible, and then trying not to skid through here, because if you lock up your front wheel, it will go down the bank. Although luckily there are lots of trees here, so it shouldn't be too bad. You won't go far. But
Yeah,
ideally,
too far.
ideally that wouldn't happen. Thomas reckons you can go up high.
Yeah.
And
Not enough corner.
maybe, I don't know. I just think it might give you a little bit too much. Oh, you do have like a little bit of a support here that you can kind of push into to go around. Yeah, and bear in mind, once you do have this done, there's going to be a little kind of maybe 2 foot drop right here that you probably can't stop for, but it is rollable, I'd say. Maybe a little lift just to be safe. Thomas is going to show us how to do the low line, which is great for a first attempt. Yeah, good braking. Almost went over the corner, but he managed to stop it just in time. Once you get confident on this, you can try and go a little bit higher, just to carry a little bit more exit speed, as Rim did. So he made that look so nice. I'm not sure if the endo is necessary, but you know, it's Rim. Let's see if I can do this without going over the bank. I'm going to try and just make it look as friendly as possible. So coming in, you want to come in relatively wide, even if you're going to go low. Oh my God. Okay, I did not make that look friendly at all. The mistake I made is I didn't break enough on the rocks, and you can see what I mean about just how loose that corner is. Anyway, continuing on, over the little drop thing, into some more rocks, which you can kind of just plow through, into another corner.
What is this? It's a lap full.
The problem with this is that normally on kind of quite steep corners, there's kind of like a high line that you can kind of go up to make it easier, but that just doesn't exist here. So you kind of have to go quite low, and then
Isn't that the high line?
this is quite a ridiculously tight corner, to be honest. And then you kind of just go down into the next little corner. Next little corner is not too bad. It's got a little bit of a rocky berm to hold you, but your biggest problem is just making this corner as it's quite tight. Rim and Thomas are going to give us a little demo. I know I just said that no one goes up high, but I have just noticed that there are some tire marks there, implying that some people, some of the pros, probably do go up high. But it does look like it's not really, looks very difficult to do that, so yeah. Alright, Thomas is coming. Let's see how he goes. Ridiculously tight. He rode that quite fast, but you can definitely ride it a bit more slower than that. Just like that. Just after that corner, you go along a little straight bit and you'll find yourself on the main feature of Yeah Gnar. So this is just like quite a long chute. It's got 3 main lines, one of which is a fair bit harder than the other one. These concrete pellet things, I don't know what they're called, but they help you get grip, and then there's a really steep chute there. So if you take this line, it's by far the steepest, but it does give you a little flat section before the next part of the chute, just to kind of regain yourself. Rim is walking down the line that I personally normally take. You can see he's pointing off. You can roll off there.
That's the scariest bit.
But that is probably one of the scarier lines.
This one's chill.
You reckon?
Like, genuinely, I think this one's less, like, the easiest one.
I died on that one.
This is probably one of the most committing features on the whole trail.
Oh, 100%.
Just the corner at the ends might be worse, but this is just quite high consequence if you don't.
You can't stop.
There's like, look at this. There's just a kind of, there's not really many spots. Like if you crash, you're probably going to be going pretty much to the bottom. So if you're riding this Yeah Gnar for the first time and you have any doubt on this feature, take no shame in walking it, because it's better to be able to ride your bike the next day than not for 6 weeks if you crash. So yeah. If you take kind of the slightly easier of the 2 lines, you don't get the concrete, but it's not as steep, so it doesn't really matter. This is a little bit looser, like there's quite a bit of gravel here, so you've got to be really comfortable riding on loose stuff. I often tell myself that I'm going to go down this line, and then I start riding down and I realize that I'm not going to be able to do it, just because it's quite hard to set up since this little rut kind of points you out the wrong direction. So yeah, I normally go down here, to be honest, even though it's probably not the fastest line. It's just possibly the safest. So yeah, whatever of the 3 lines you choose here, you still end up having to go over these 2 drops. This first one's not really a drop, it's just kind of a roll down. And there's a really sketchy looking, I wouldn't even say this is a ride around, I'd say that's more of a walk around if you decide not to ride it. But yeah, anyway, those are kind of steps. I saw Thomas roll over this, but personally I wouldn't recommend it, just because it's quite steep, and I feel like I wouldn't suggest rolling this because it's just quite steep. Anyway, let's watch Rim and Thomas do the first bit. Right, Thomas Wilson coming in. Nice and slow, good braking.
Whoa!
Jesus. Well, he managed to stop there, which is good, but that's what I'm saying. It's a high commitment feature.
Scary.
Rim says Thomas needed to go slower at the start, which is probably a good point.
Sorry guys, I ruined the
Because he was kind of hauling through here a little bit. But even though he was hauling, he managed to control his brakes well enough to stop, which I definitely wouldn't count on doing, because that could have gone very wrong
I don't know how.
if he'd have fallen down there.
gotta get back on my...
Thomas is going to start from halfway. Take 2. That was a lot more in control. Right, rim's coming in. Good controlling. Oh, it's got that line.
Okay.
Lovely. A good thing to note is that when you're riding a hard trail like this for the first time, especially if it's a hard trail, it means that good riders ride it, which when you're looking at features, you really want to have your bike off the trail because people ride this track at quite high speeds, so you wouldn't want them to come around a corner and ram into your bike because that would be not good for them or your bike. Right, I'm not wearing my knee pads on my full face, so I'm just going to opt to take the Thomas line today. Slow as possible. Creeping into it. Good job. There's a little rock gap here, but it's really scary because you have to like jump over the bank. Anyway, getting close towards the end now, but let's have a look at the last 2 features. So this section is relatively mellow. It's just kind of quite a fast double roller into a good supporting corner down the bottom.
Can I go?
One of the best supporting corners on the trail. Yeah, go for it. Thomas is starting low. I normally come in high, but see, look how fast you can go in that corner. It's good. You can come low here, but I would suggest the best line would be coming in high, keeping high, going over. You can see that it's like obviously most ridden there, I think, and then there's like a little small drop, which isn't really a drop, but it's a drop when you're going fast into a nice supporting corner. I find this feature to be one of the features that you can actually kind of let off the brakes the most on this trail, because it's quite straight and yeah, nice run out, nice corner. But now we enter the hardest feature on the trail. The main feature on Yeah Gnar, which Thomas almost crashed on,
What?
alongside this,
Oh, yeah.
are the 2 most committing features on the trail by a fair bit, just because there is a big gap there in the trees, which you can go down. Yeah, our good friend Elliot had quite the crash here. Because once you get to this point,
You have to
it's probably not a good idea to take both your feet off and then hold the brakes and go straight over that corner. And then proceed to take out a couple square meters of native bush.
Ooh.
And yeah, basically wreck yourself, your bike, and the trees. Not very environmentally considerate. Especially when it's dry. This corner is like, do not trust it at all because it is sandy. It's like, I don't know if you remember, but I said at the like back up there was like a mini replica of this corner. And if you struggled with that one, then possibly walking down this would be a better idea. Although good luck walking down it because it's bloody steep. But it is close to the bottom, I guess, so shouldn't be too hard to get an ambulance in here.
Oh god. Let's see it.
So I personally used to kind of come here and kind of just go straight down. Like straight down here, kind of cutting the corner quite inside, just because this is like not really that smooth rock, but it's just kind of straight. Problem is that takes you straight over the corner, and every single time I've done it, I've been so close to going over it, but just like managing not to. But then I came up here with Noah and Ali, and Noah told me that coming through here is probably a slightly better line, just because you get a little bit more out of that corner. Anyway,
Can I start here?
let's see what Thomas and Rim do. Remember what happened last time someone started from there, Thomas?
Oh, yeah.
Insert clip. Yeah, look how flat this corner is. Although luckily, once you've done this corner, you've pretty much reached the end of the trail, so I'm trusting Rim not to pull at Elliot yet because I'm standing right where he crashed. Made it look easy as normal. Alright, so coming into it, you want to be really nice and slow, giving yourself plenty of time to prepare. I do normally stall here and just kind of get my line right, but you don't want to do it too late because then it can be a little bit harder to stop if something goes wrong. Because then it can be a little bit harder.
What? Why
Oh.
is it so clean?
This is a terrible spot to leave your bike. Can you see that? Cheers, Thomas.
Ah! Shut up, Ruben.
Alright,
Can we just go through this next bit?
so obviously there's a little bit of an uphill into this, but you should be carrying a bit of speed from there, so it shouldn't be a problem.
Wait, we stop at the waterfall there.
Yeah, we'll stop at the waterfall.
Oh my god, does this still go to the waterfall?
Yeah. So, from this point on, if you manage to ride everything else on Yeah Gnar, then none of this should be a problem for you. We just then we join on Trickle Falls, so you're now riding a grade 5 trail. However, there is still one more feature to go. On a hot day, this is rather lovely. Little rock roll into water, cools your feet off. Yeah, soak your feet no matter what, really. We're going to follow Rim down the last little bit of Trickle Falls out to the road. Sorry, it's quite hard to get past here. Got my foot soaked. Oh my god, Thomas. Thomas needs to learn where to leave his bike. Yeah. From now, you can just celebrate your victory from completing Yeah Gnar and just enjoy this lovely, lovely bit of single track. Although your brakes will be noisy now because you've just been through a river. Oh. There are a couple of quite slippery cross routes through here that don't really ever dry, so do keep that in mind. Oh, little jump. But yeah, little pinch climb into, and now you're linked into vertigo as well, and just like that you've made it to the bottom. If you managed to ride Yeah Gnar without crashing, or you did something new, pushed your comfort zone, I applaud you. Good job.
We applaud you guys, you did a good job.
Put my bike in the way.
Do let us know if you enjoyed this type of video, because I've never made a trail breakdown before, so if there's anything you'd like to see done differently, let us know. And if there's any trails you'd like us to break down, do let us know as well. And we only do trails in Wellington because we're kids and we can't really go anywhere else. But if you're willing to shout us a trip to Queenstown, we'll go and do some trails down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we will not say no. Fly us down to Queenstown and we'll do, I don't know, Dreamland. Goodbye.